So we were looking at preparation of questionnaire in the previous class. Okay, so let's. Can you see the screen now?
No, sir.
No, sir. Screen is not visible?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir?
Yeah, my screen is sort of frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. Sir, I'd request, sir, can you do something about the teams being not visible? Means,
Wait. Yeah, right now, actually, thing is my screen is completely frozen. I can hear your audio and my screen is not responding at all. So I know what's happened. It's stuck. I think that was Prajwal who spoke. I don't even know who spoke. I'm just guessing from his voice.
yeah, sir, it was me.
Yeah,
Prajwal.
so maybe you can hear me, but then my screen is frozen. I'm just trying to sort of share my screen with you to sort of share the PPT. But I'm having issues with the computer. I might have to disconnect and rejoin, but then even disconnecting button isn't responding. Yeah. Hi. Am I visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see any
Yes.
of. I think all your cameras are turned on. Please turn it on. Okay. I really don't know what went wrong. This is the first time something like this has happened. It just went into some kind of freeze. It took a really long time to reboot. I'm sorry about it. I don't see Shamika and Ansh. Okay. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Let's begin then. So we've been looking at. Uh, let's say in this particular session, we are going to look at questionnaire, preparation of questionnaire. So far, we have dealt with defining the problem, developing an approach to the problem, formulating a research design, uh, field work and collecting data you would be undertaking in the next week, and preparing preparation and analysis of data as well. And finally, presenting the report. So all of that is going to be next week. It's going to be done by you, step 4, 5, and 6. So now we are on step 3, formulating a research design. And under research design, we've already in the previous sessions gone through qualitative research, survey and observation research, experimental research, measurement and scaling. And this session, we'll be looking at questionnaire and form design. All right. So questionnaire is nothing but a printed set of questions with which you approach a respondent for their response. And typically, it could be an open-ended question. It could be a question with multiple choice options. And there are several kinds of multiple choice questions. Also, we'll do all of that. But compared to any other method, this is more structured and formalized, and it's easy to administer and get response, and also to code and do analysis later. Right now, as one of you had, I think Prajwal had mentioned earlier, questionnaire can sometimes be boring. People can do it in a monotonous, dull fashion. So make sure that your questionnaire uplifts, motivates, and encourages the respondent to get involved in the interview. So it is your responsibility to make sure that the questions are worded well and in a very interesting manner. I think somebody wants to enter the room. 1 second. Okay, Ravish. Okay. So the preparation of the questionnaire is in your hands. It should not be boring, and it should not put off people. Now, several steps to the questionnaire design process. Determine the wording, the question wording, right? So that is very important. We are going to be spending next several minutes looking at the wording of the question. Then arrange the questions in a proper logical sequence, proper order. Choose the form and layout. Reproduce the questionnaire. Of course, that is not relevant to you. This reproduction of questionnaire is more relevant when people used to go out, do a mall intercept with a physical sort of questionnaire. But all of you are going to be doing a web-based questionnaire. And then pre-test the questionnaire. Pre-test the questionnaire is very important. Now, one is typically blind to one's own errors. I'm fairly sure you would actually be seeing several spelling mistakes, perhaps in the PPTs I'm sharing with you. Now, I'm not sure if there are errors or if there aren't, but those are never intentional. But what happens is it's very difficult for a person to see his own errors, right? So therefore, you might have a logical reasoning for why you put questions in a certain order. But when you reach out to the respondents and get a response, suddenly you will realize, oh, no, the thinking is not as straight as I imagined it to be. It's a little convoluted. And what I imagined is not what the respondent is making out of the question. So pre-testing is very important before you take it out to a larger audience to test your hypothesis to get the responses. So make the questionnaire, talk to 3-4 people, friends, see whether there is a logical flow, whether the question is interesting enough, if there is a question which is repetitive, which is irrelevant, and all sorts of things like that, right? So that pre-testing part is very important. Okay, now let's look at, I think I think we had dealt with this yesterday also. So depending upon what mode of interviewing technique or how are you going to administer the questionnaire, you will sequence it differently rather, sorry. So if you are administering the question on email, internet, or mail, so you can actually ask for rank order. So in rank order, you are asked to assign a rank to a particular preference that you might have. So here we have 10 department stores, Lord and Taylor, Macy's, and so on, all the way to Walmart. And then you will ask them, what is your preference? Just rank them, like what do you prefer more than the other? So which means no two of these options will have the same rank. So you will get 1 to 10, and which means you prefer 1 over 2 and 2 over 3 and 3 over 4 and so on, and 1 over everything else. So that rank order you get. Of course, we dealt with this in the previous thing on scaling. Now, Suppose you are talking to somebody on the phone, rank order may be actually difficult. You're administering the questionnaire over the phone. Rank order may not be such a good idea because the respondent will not remember all the different brands that you're sort of reading out. So in that case, it's a better idea to go for an itemized scale. So what is your preference on a scale of 1 to 10? So which is an itemized scale rating. So you might want to ask a question, what is your preference for shopping at Macy's? What is your preference for shopping at Walmart, and so on and so forth. So people might actually say preference is 3 on 10 or 8 on 10. So a particular value could actually get repeated. So somebody could say 7 on 10 for 3 of these choices, right? So rank order, that will never happen. There will be a distinct and clear hierarchy, preference, right? Uh, Again, if you are actually going and meeting the person in person, in a mall intercept method, for instance, then you will actually hand out cards and tell them, of these 10, which do you like the most? And they will pick up one, and then you collect it back from them and say, give one, rank 1 to it, and then after 9 remaining, what you like the most, pick the next, and so on and so forth. So then you will be able to do the rank order for this. I'm going quickly, but I think we did briefly go through this yesterday also. Now, again, if there is no, just think carefully whether the question that you are asking is actually meaningful. If you think the question is not going to give you a response which is meaningful and with which you can sort of do any sort of analysis, just skip the question. Okay, don't overwhelm the respondent with question which really will not help you in any way. Of course, there are icebreaker questions, basic questions, which you basically ask right in the beginning to keep him comfortable, but also have this in mind. Don't ask too many questions. Don't go with a 40 questionnaire kind of thing, and the fellow will feel beaten and bruised at the end of your exercise. So don't do that. Okay. So keep it relevant and simple. Now, yes. So now, again, I was coming to this question. Now, a question like this: do you think Sprite is tasty and refreshing soft drink? I did talk about it yesterday. What is this kind of question called?
Double barrel question.
Yes, double barrel question. Okay, so basically you're asking one question and expecting an answer, yes or no answer from this. Whereas the respondent might actually think Sprite is tasty but not refreshing, or he might not think it's tasty but he might think it's refreshing. So what does he say when you ask a question like this? So make sure that you don't ask double barrel questions. Split this question into two. Do you think Sprite is tasty? And the second question, do you think Sprite is refreshing? Right? So avoid double barrel questions. So again, this is double barrel questions, avoid it. So I think we did till here yesterday. So let's move forward. There are several reasons why a respondent might have an inability in responding to your questionnaire. So first of it is lack of awareness. He doesn't know enough about the topic that you're talking about. It could be about, let's say about Bollywood. It could be about fashion. It could be about the stock markets. So the respondent doesn't know enough about those things. So he may not be able to answer. Second is he may not be able to remember. Suppose you ask, how many liters of shampoo did you consume, or how many liters of Coke did you sort of, so it is difficult to answer that question, right? Therefore, you should make it easy for the person to respond instead of asking an open-ended question like, how many, let's say, kilograms of meat did you consume? So that doesn't really make sense, right? So make it easy. You will break it down in a way so that it becomes easier for the customer. So that memory part, okay? One is because they don't know how to answer, because you're challenging his memory. And the third is, let's say, inability in terms of articulating something, like describe your experience at the cinemas or something of that sort, right? So, and then, or describe your last vacation, for instance. So you don't know what to describe. Do I have to describe the location? Do I have to describe my experience? Do I have to describe the hotel where I was staying? Do I have to travel? So, therefore you need to make sure that the articulation part is made easier for him by being specific with the question, and also maybe use cues with which he will be able to understand what exactly you're, use picture aids and descriptions to make it easier for him. So, right now, the thing about, so I said there are three reasons. One is the person doesn't know enough about the thing. So first thing is, when you meet the respondent, you have to ascertain whether the person knows enough about stock market. You're doing a survey on stock market. So the first thing is, you need to use filter questions to ask general questions about stock market to determine whether this guy is the right person for my questionnaire. Right. So that is called a filter question. If you think that the person doesn't know, then you will be able to sort of, thank him for this. You ask, are you aware of what stock markets are, or have you heard about, what is, let's say, Sensex, or do you know anything about cryptocurrency or whatever. If he says I haven't heard anything about it, then you thank him and say all right, and thank you for his time, and move on to the next respondent, right? So that filter question, make sure that you don't waste your time with someone who doesn't know enough about whatever survey you're undertaking. Then so therefore always there should be a don't know option, right? So you in the sense, in these kind of questions, if you ask, what do you know about stock market, or what do you know about high fashion, or what do you know about whatever, then there should always be an option don't know or cannot say. They typically call it don't know, can't say question. So one option should be that if the person doesn't know, so thank him for his time and move on, because that person is not in a position to sort of be a good sample for you for whatever study you're undertaking. Okay, now right. Okay. Next question is this: inability to answer. Can the respondent remember? So, how many liters of soft drinks do you consume during the last 4 weeks? Anything wrong with this question? Respond. Yes, quickly.
Yes, sir. We
Yeah.
cannot.
What is wrong?
Anyone cannot remember that how much they did.
Okay. How would you want to rephrase it?
They should ask like how many times, 2 to 3 times. Sir, we discussed this yesterday.
Oh, we did. Okay, fine. Oh, we did this yesterday, right? Okay, great. Yes, yes, yes. So instead of asking how many liters of soft drinks did you consume, you might as well word it differently. And it could be this way: how often do you consume soft drinks in a typical week? Okay, less than once a week, 1 to 3 times per week, 4 to 6 times per week, 7 or more per week. So if it's 7 or more per week, it is like at least once a day, right? So this is, it's easier for the respondent to answer this question, right? Less than once a week would mean, okay, occasionally once in 2 weeks he's able to respond. So make sure that you don't tax the fellow with this memory. He will really have to scratch his head to figure out, okay, how many liters of soft drinks. No. So we are more interested in consumption pattern. So make it easier for him to answer. Now, okay, so basically, respondents may be unable to articulate certain types of responses, describe the atmosphere of a department store or something, like I was talking about the vacation example. So give them aids such as pictures, maps, descriptions to help them articulate their responses better. So that you, suppose it's on vacation, you're perhaps more interested in the mode of travel which he used, not so much about the hotel where he stayed. So maybe you want to capture that part. So you should sort of, make it easy by sort of cueing him either using pictures or giving other descriptors, so that he's able to respond in the way in which you want. Okay. Right. Okay. Again, unwillingness to answer also comes from effort required of respondents, because you cannot tax that fellow. Somebody is helping you with his responses, so you should not tax his brain and say no, no, now you remember this, you remember that. No, make it easy and convenient for him to help you, right? So always give multiple choices. So pick among one of these. So if I ask you, let's say for instance, name different chocolates that you've consumed in the last 1 year, so it becomes very difficult for you, right? So but on the contrary, if I give you options, Cadbury's and whatever chocolates is out there, let's say Dairy Milk and Bourbon and all of that, so then it is easy for you to remember, because your time, the respondent's time is not wasted in remembering those names, but it's easy. He sees a name and he's okay, I've used this or I've eaten this or whatever. So you can click on it, right? So therefore, always give multiple choice options. So provide response options. Effort required of the respondent will get minimized or reduced in this instance. Now, again, information may be sensitive, for which reason they may not want to respond. So questions about taxation, questions about people's, habits about, consuming alcohol and all of that. So, people may be reluctant to answer. So make use desensitizing questions, desensitizing sort of things. We will come to that in a while, how to do that. Okay, let's move quickly. Okay. uh, so again, most respondents are unwilling to devote a lot of effort to provide information. So you should make it as easy and convenient for him to participate in your survey. Don't make it a laborious activity by asking questions wherein he has to really sort of take a lot of time and effort to think about possible output, and then so make it easy and convenient. That is a message. Researchers should minimize effort required for the respondents. Now, quickly, overcoming unwillingness to answer. So minimize the effort required. Okay, now look at this question. Please list all departments from which you purchase merchandise on your most recent shopping trip to department store. Right? So anything wrong with this question?
So again, you display it once more.
Okay, you can't see that. Okay, when I show you, okay, yes. The question is, please list all the departments from which you purchase merchandise on your most recent trip to a department store.
Yes, sir, it's again that it's like someone will have to remember what all departments they went to. So it's
Okay.
taxing for the person.
Okay, any other inputs? I'm only hearing responses from Prajwal. Other responses? Yeah,
Yes,
Antara.
yes, sir. The person may not remember which the departments which he or she visited during uh, the departmental store visit. So maybe unwilling to recall it and then answer it.
Okay, so how do you think this could be modified to help him?
Mm. Like ask him out what items did they buy when they
Okay.
visited the departmental store.
Okay, other responses? Yes, Rahul. How could you possibly modify this question?
Same, sir, by asking what they buy from different departmental store. Not
What did
asking
you
the
buy,
name
is
of
it?
department.
Okay, okay.
From
Yes,
different department.
Yesi?
I will give the list of departments.
Get
So
a
they
list
will
of?
choose the department. So they will choose it.
Absolutely. Give them the list of all the different departments in the convenience store or the mall. Okay, so how you could frame it is this way. In the list that follows, please check all the departments from which you purchase merchandise on your most recent shopping trip to a department store. And then you say women's dresses, men's apparel, cosmetics, liquor section, grocery, jewelry, and all of that. So the easy for them to tick. And then you basically say choose all that apply. Right. So you're basically not taxing the person. So then he will say, oh, I went to the clothes, I went to the shoes section, I went to the let's say grocery section. So they can simply click on it. So instead of keeping it open and taxing the guy, so you basically make it convenient so that they're ticking multiple options and you say tick as many as applies to your case or whatever. Right? So all right. Now, so basically the idea is minimize the effort required of the respondents to answer your question, right? Please list all the departments from which you purchased is taxing, give multiple options and say choose from this. All right. Now, overcoming unwillingness to answer sensitive information. Suppose you are asking questions related to taxation, relating to your drinking habits, or questions of a sexual nature. So they may not be very forthcoming with their response. So then you will have to place sensitive topics. At first thing is you ask all this whatever controversial sensitive topics to the end of the questionnaire, because by that time you would have asked them some 7-10 questions. He would be more comfortable with you, right? So don't ask anything which can throw him off right at the beginning. So any sensitive, potentially sensitive question, by that time, after you ask 10-12 questions, you would have built a rapport with that person. So he or she maybe will be more willing to sort of answer your question. So that is first, ask any sensitive questions towards the end. That's the first thing. And secondly, assure him that whatever that question is a common behavior. Right. Let's say if it's about evasion of taxation, you say that, yeah, sometimes you find widespread taxation. So don't sort of try to tell him that it's a wrong thing to do and therefore I'm going to ask you this, what do you think about it? So sort of downplay how negative it is, and then because you really want to get an honest response to it. But if you say it's a crime to tax, I mean, avoid tax or whatever, cheat taxation or whatever, then they'll say no, I haven't done anything. So try to sort of say that it's a common behavior in developing countries. People don't pay taxes on time or whatever. They try to evade taxes as much as possible and all of that, and play it down so that you get an accurate response. And ask it in third person language. Don't ask whether you evade tax, right? Ask something like, what do you think is likelihood of people evading tax in the city of Bombay, or in city of Bangalore, or India in general, or whatever, what percent of Indians? So something like that. Ask it in third person. Don't ask whether you have evaded in the last 5 years. Don't ask directly, right? So put it in third person perspective. And I did speak about projective techniques earlier. Whenever someone answers this question, any projective technique, you ask about third person, it's invariably his experience which comes out. Right. So we did discuss about it earlier in the other session. Okay. Uh, Provide response category rather than asking for specific figures. Right. As in same thing, instead of asking, let's say if it's about tax evasion, ask to what extent is your tax evasion, up to 10,000 rupees, up to 50,000 rupees, up to 2 lakh rupees, up to 5, between 2 lakh and 5 lakh and 10 lakh and more, something like that. Give that very broad sort of thing so that, you don't ask for a specific number. Did you sort of evade tax 1,35,000? No, not like that. Right. Okay. Now, there are different types of questions. Unstructured questions are, open-ended questions. Of course, we choose not to have several unstructured questions in a questionnaire because it's difficult to analyze and interpret them subsequently, code it, and sort of get data out of it. Structured question, there are three: multiple choice, dichotomous, and scales. Multiple choice, of course, you've seen, options. You give the multiple options in a department store, which particular sections did you visit, and you say groceries, jewelry, men's apparel, children's wear, shoes section, and so on. So multiple choice. So you give them an option. Dichotomous is typically yes or no questions, right? So there are only two answers to it. So did you visit the children's section? Yes or no. Okay. Dichotomous is only yes or no answer, only one response to it. And then scales, of course, we have dealt at length. Likert scale, itemized, different kind of scaling. We have seen it: staple, Likert, and semantic differential. Right. So these are the different ways in which you could ask questions. That is structured questions. Unstructured is open-ended questions. Sometimes it is asked right at the beginning just to make the person comfortable. What are your views about stock market? What do you think about cryptocurrency? What do you think about fashion? Or what do you think about Bluetooth technology or 5G technology, for instance? So just to make sure, get the thing started, you might ask something so that the person feels comfortable. All right. Now, choosing question structure. Unstructured questions are open-ended questions that respondents answer in their own words. Like I said, start initially about are you a technology enthusiast? What do you know about 5G technology and things like that. So basically, you ask this. So person actually can sort of give his free and frank opinion about it in his own words. Because also understand structured question, you are actually limiting his response in some ways. This is the option I give you. You choose one of this, or don't know, or none of the above, right? But in this one, a whole wealth of information about which perhaps you have not thought about can come out in an open-ended question. That is always there, right? Disadvantages: high potential for interview bias. After all, so coding of responses is costly and time-consuming in the case of unstructured question, and it is very easy in structured questions because what the responses are. So if the response is very likely, then you give 1, likely 2, neither likely, then you 3, and so on. So all you have to do is eventually count everything together and you know what exactly is the pattern. But unstructured question, you don't have that comfort or luxury. Now, structured question, like I said, you have a set of response alternatives and the response format, and it is either on multiple choice, right? On dichotomous, yes or no, or a scale. Scale is Likert, staple, semantic differential, right? So we have dealt with the scale extensively in the previous section, so I'm not going to go further into it. Again, just an example of multiple choice question is: do you intend to buy a new car within the next 6 months? So you're giving several different options. Definitely will not buy, probably will not buy, undecided, probably will buy, definitely will buy, and other. Right. So this is a multiple choice question. Again, a dichotomous question is: do you intend to buy a car within the next 6 months or so? Yes or no. There is nothing else. Will you buy? Will you not buy? Okay. By the way, am I going a little fast today? Yeah. Give me a response. Am I going a little fast today?
Yes, sir.
I'm going fast, is it?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, I mean, the reason I was doing it is because a lot of it I thought was overlapping with whatever I took yesterday. Yeah, same thing. Shamika, am I too fast today?
Not for me, sir.
Antara?
So it's okay.
Prajwal?
A bit fast, sir.
Bit fast. Ansh?
A bit fast.
Okay. So the reason, see, there are two reasons. One is because much of what I spoke in the last 10-15 minutes, I think I did speak about it yesterday also. Second is I'm just still feeling a little awkward about 10 minutes of shutdown and rebooting and all of that. So I was just trying to make up for that lost time. Perhaps that is one reason I'm going fast. So I'm glad. Okay, so you're saying I'm going fast. Okay, let me slow down then. Okay, so it's important that you understand and just sort of, yeah, okay, let me slow down a little bit. Right. So a dichotomous question has only two responses or alternatives: yes or no, agree or disagree, will buy, will not buy, whatever, So there aren't n number of different options available. One of the two alternatives of interest are supplemented by a neutral alternative such as no opinion, don't know, both, or none. So this is sometimes done. Do you intend to buy a car in the next month? You say yes, no, or you will say don't know. Right. Sometimes that option is also given. Still, it's a dichotomous question. Right. That don't know, can't say, is not seen as, or sometimes you will simply say no opinion. So even if you put a no opinion there, it's still a dichotomous question. Okay. If you give a third option as no opinion or don't know or undecided, that also still counts as a dichotomous question. Right. So this one, all of you are familiar with. Likert scale. On a scale of 1 to 5, what are your chances of buying a new car within the next 6 months? Likert scale, which we've talked about at length in previous sessions. Definitely will not buy, probability. And then you're basically telling them on a scale of 1 to 5 where, what is your preference or what is your likelihood of buying it? Okay.
Sir,
yes, please. Yeah.
According to you, sir, which kind of questions are like best? Like I think so, like the Likert scale and also like very likely, not likely, like 7 options are given. But on those questions, like the person has to think a bit, give it a thought, then answer. But like yes or no questions, he can immediately see, like, do you want to buy a car in next 6 months? No. And or if it's like single choice among 4, these are like easy to I guess quick to answer. So which is like better? Means among
see, let's say for instance, if you are conducting a study on purchase intent, okay, so you want to conduct a study on purchase intent of 5G mobiles. Okay, mobile phone 5G, it's not yet introduced in India. I suppose, yeah, in pockets, some pilot test is going on. But so suppose you want to see people's interest and keenness to buy it. You go out with a survey. So you are interested. So suppose if you simply ask a dichotomous question, how likely are you to buy in the next 6 months? Yes or no. So, I mean, it becomes very difficult for you to do any further analysis. But if you go with a 5-point scale or a 7-point scale, very likely to buy, likely, neither likely nor unlikely. So 5-point scale, you will get a little more sort of sense about, let's say the interest. You will find that there are some people who are extremely likely, they're waiting for the 5G to come so that they can go and buy. There are other people who perhaps are considering, if there are favorable reports from other buyers, then I might consider and all of that. Right. So you can have a 7-point scale also to have further classifications. If you simply call it binary yes, no, so you don't get that information. Right. So that agreement or that willingness to buy may not be strong in everyone. So there could be there are people who are waiting for this product to be launched so that they can go and get their hands on it the very next day or perhaps the same day. Right. So if you simply ask yes, no, this particular element, how keen they are to buy it, or how reluctant they are. There are people who really don't care whether there is 5G or 6G or 7G. I'm comfortable with my traditional landline. Right. Phones are a big hassle. I don't want to carry it around. Too much of interference in my life. So you could also run into those kind of people. So that level of agreement, that purchase intention, you will be able to measure better if you have a wider scale. If you have a 7-point scale, you will be able to find a wider distribution of it. So ultimately, it depends on what is it that you want to do. Right. If you just get yes, no, so you don't know that yes, like say that yes could actually be people who are just about willing to buy, and there are people who are hardcore enthusiasts. Right. So that degree of agreement with whatever you are saying, so that degree also tells you a lot about the market. You're a market researcher and you're interested in that information. Right. So if you go with a 7-point scale and so many people are giving you a 7, will you be buying a 5G phone? Everybody says, yeah, people are saying, no, I'm going to buy it the moment it's launched. So it is telling you something, as opposed to a weak yes saying that, yeah, I will consider it as and when it becomes popular and I'll see the cost and benefit or whatever. So, so I hope you're getting a gist of what I'm saying. Right. All right. Yeah. Yes. So advantages and disadvantages of unstructured and structured questions. Unstructured question, again, good as first question to sort of break the ice and keep the respondent sort of interested and build a rapport with them. Responses are less biased and can provide rich insights, even tell you about things perhaps you would not have thought of as a researcher. When you talk for the first time, so they might tell you about things which perhaps you yourself haven't thought about or considered earlier. And disadvantages, coding is costly. I mean, recording all this information becomes difficult and comparing and analyzing it later. Right. And then greater way to articulate respondents, because there are people who are good in communicating. So you might actually take their opinion to be more forceful and impactful. And so actually the unstructured questionnaire I did tell you about earlier also, it's used for exploratory research. It's so much more useful to get some good insights about the problem on hand, and therefore typically unstructured questions are used during exploratory research. And for conclusive research, typically you go with a multiple choice, well-structured questionnaire. And in a multiple choice scenario questionnaires that if you use, interviewer bias is vastly reduced, easy to code and analyze subsequently, and you can expect a good kind of response from the respondent, because if you make it interesting and easy for them to answer your questionnaire, they will sort of be excited about it and do a good job of responding to your questions. So one probable disadvantage of a multiple choice thing is, you need to do all the work of designing it and all of that. It's an open-ended question. You just need to go ask that question. But then multiple choice, you have to think about it and give the different options and how to word it cleverly, how to do it in an interesting fashion so that you don't sort of cause respondent fatigue, right? Let's look at responses should be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Okay, so this is something very important. I think I did touch upon this earlier also. Whenever you give out options, ensure that the responses, like options when you give, I think one example I gave is like when you try to capture income or for age or any of that matter, even gender, for instance, don't just say male, female, also give an option of transgender. Right. So make sure that it's mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. You capture everybody. Right. So when you give an online response, you say, what is your gender? You say male, female, and there is no other response. No. Or you say any other not specified, or even if you want to write transgender, you can put it. Similarly, when you capture age bracket, so don't say 0 to whatever, 0 to 15, 15 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 to 60, and don't stop it there. The next one should be 60 and above. Right. And again, income bracket, don't sort of make it like up. Okay, again, okay, the one is that make sure that it is exhaustive, that it covers everything. And the second input is make it mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means two brackets shouldn't come together. So you don't say 0 to 1 lakh and 1 lakh to 2 lakh. Don't say that. So 0 to 1 lakh, then you say 1 lakh 1 to 2 lakh, and 2 lakh 1 to 5 lakh, and 5 lakh 1 to 10 lakh. You're getting it? So respondent shouldn't get confused whether I should include 1 lakh and 0 to 1 lakh or 1 lakh to 2 lakh. Clear? I think I'm seeing some confused faces. Rahul is looking very confused. Yes, Rahul. Rahul, yeah, you're clear about this concept of what is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive? Yeah.
Can you explain it again?
Okay. See, okay. So I don't know why you're waiting for me to answer. I just saw that quizzical look on your face and I asked you. If you had a problem, you should have asked me. I mean, I could look at Antara and Shamika and understood that they've understood quickly. But okay, Rahul, what do you mean by mutually exclusive is, if I ask what your let's say what your income is, if I ask the respondent, okay, can you please tell me in what income bracket you fall, and I give options, I give multiple options. I say your income is 0 to 1 lakh rupees per year, annually 0 to 1 lakh. Then another option I give 1 lakhs to 2 lakh. Then I give 2 lakh to 5 lakh. Then I give 5 lakh to 10 lakh, and then I say above 10 lakhs. Okay, I've given 5 options here. Is there anything wrong with this? With these different options I've given?
No, sir.
Okay. Nirbhay, is there a problem with this bracket I've given?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the problem?
Sir, 16.
I'm glad, Rahul, I could read your face. This is one reason I keep insisting that your camera should be on. Yeah, I could see that you were not convinced about it. Yes, Ansh.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, my next class is started. Can I leave?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Okay, carry on, Ansh. Yes, Ravish.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Ravish. Yeah, tell
Yes,
me
sir.
what is wrong with this? Is there anything wrong with the classification I just mentioned? I'm saying I am giving an option. I'm trying to capture the income of the respondent, and my options are 0 to 1 lakh, 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs to 5 lakhs, 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, above 10 lakhs. Is it okay? Are the responses okay? Rahul thinks it's okay. Nirbhay thinks it's okay. What do you think, Ravish?
Yes, sir.
That's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Shamika, is it okay?
No, sir, because the 1 lakh, the people who have 1 lakh salary will get confused as to which bracket they should tick for the options, in the options.
Did you guys get it?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Yeah, the problem is, suppose your income is 5 lakhs. Okay, will you put it in that 2 to 5 lakhs or 5 to 10 lakhs? If your earned annual income is exactly 5 lakh Indian rupees, where are you going to put that 5 lakhs? Are you going to put it in the 2 to 5 lakhs bracket or 5 to 10 lakh brackets? Got it?
Yes, sir.
So that is why this particular grouping is not mutually exclusive. Right? So that particular thing is coming in 2. It is not, so 2 to 5 is not excluding that 5 to 10. So that 5 lakhs is getting repeated twice. So the respondent doesn't know if my income is 5 lakhs, where do I put it? Whether to put it in 2 to 5 or 5 to 10. Therefore, when you make the groups, make sure that it is mutually exclusive. So you write something like 0 to 1 lakh Indian rupees, 1 lakh 1 Indian rupees to 2 lakh Indian rupees, 2 lakh 1 Indian rupees to 5 lakh Indian rupees, 5 lakh 1 Indian rupees to 10 lakh, and above 10 lakh Indian rupees. So that there is mutual exclusivity of the different options that you're giving. Got it, Nirbhay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ravish?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Rahul is still not looking happy. I don't know. I don't know for whatever reasons. Yeah, you're not looking now. Okay, fine. So the reason I sort of mentioned this in one of the previous classes also. That is the reason I went through quickly, but you looked very puzzled and quizzed. So that is why I came back to you and asked this. Okay, this is the concept of mutual exclusivity, that your options should not overlap. Okay, it should be exclusive. Each option that you give should be exclusive. Right. So this is the concept of mutual exclusion. Then there is a concept of all the options should be collectively exhaustive. Okay. Now, question is to Ravish. Now, if I say, what is your gender? And if I ask, if I give options male 1, female 1. Okay. I mean, as in male as in one option, female as another option. So is there anything wrong with this?
Yes, sir.
What is wrong?
So the other genders might not have an option.
Yeah. Nirbhay. Yeah, Nirbhay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you understand this? Suppose if I give an option, identify, what is your gender? If I say male and female, is there a problem with that?
Yes, sir. Because
Huh.
sir, transgender or sir, not specific type.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, Rahul.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So did you get this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this particular
Say-
thing, the problem is all the options are not collectively exhaustive, which means so options you're giving only male and female. Male and female may be 99.5% of the population, but there is 0.05% of the population who do not identify as male or female. So they are transgenders. So make sure that your responses are also capture that. Your response options also capture that. Right. So that is the concept of collectively exhaustive. All options should be given. Okay, so another example I was giving you is when you try to capture the age bracket. Let's say you are doing your study on 5G. right? And then you say, you again classify randomly, you say 0 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 to 60. Right, because you think, okay, this will capture your respondent thing, because so if I do this, Rahul, is there a problem?
Sir, can you repeat a question?
Okay, suppose you are trying to capture the age of people and your study is about 5G, use of technology. Okay, and you want to know what age group that person is. And you create alternatives or options, and your options are 0 to 15, 16 to 30, 31 to 45, 46 to 60. Okay. So you've created some brackets and you think you will be going and asking respondents. Now, is there anything wrong with this particular classification?
Yes, sir.
What is the problem?
What if we ask the question above the range of that options?
Which is
Means
what age?
60 age, above
60.
60
Okay,
years.
absolutely. Yes, that is exactly the point I want to make. So it's also likely that you might run into a 70-year-old tech enthusiast. And then when he has to respond and put his age, so you don't have a bracket because you have stopped at 46 to 60. Right. So these two concepts together, okay. First is called mutually exclusive. Make sure that no two choices you give overlap so that the respondent is not confused about whether the income is 2 to 5 lakh or 5 to 10 lakh. Where do I put? If I earn 5 lakh, where do I put my tick? Okay. So it has to be, all the responses have to be mutually exclusive. And collectively exhaustive means all possible options should be covered. Okay, something like less than 20 years age, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, 61 and above, so that nothing is left behind. So anybody and everybody will be able to mark somewhere. Okay, this is the concept of mutual exclusivity and collective exhaustion of all options. Okay, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So I did talk about it briefly. That is the reason I was rushing through, because I was also, like I said, a little conscious about the fact that yesterday quiz we lost a little bit of time. Today morning rebooting, so I went a little fast. I'm presuming that, okay, in case any of you have any problem, please stop me. Okay, please feel confident about stopping me. Any silly questions, doubts, anything you've not understood. Okay, right. So, all right. So multiple choice questions should be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive, and it is particularly useful in large surveys. Right, so advantages and disadvantages. Okay, now let's come to yeah, dichotomous questions. Dichotomous questions are yes or no questions, or will buy, will not buy, two responses basically. And advantages are same as those of multiple choices. Same with scales, same as multiple choice. Advantages of scales, Likert, staple, and semantic differential. Now again, scales difficult to design multi-item scales. Sometimes scales should be evaluated for reliability and validity. Then dichotomous wording can bias the respondents. So yeah, the way you word the question, if it is positively worded, very likely the person will also answer like that. If it's negatively worded, the person is likely to sort of go with the way you worded the question. Right. So I'll just come to that again in a couple of slides about how it has to be worded. Now, so when you choose the question wording, define the issue. Okay. Define the issue correctly in terms of who, what, when, where, why, and the way. 6 W's, right? But the 6 W's may not always be relevant, but for sure, 4 of them are always relevant. What, where, when, and who. Who, what, where, when are always relevant when you ask questions in market research. Why may not be, the way may not be. But I'll show you an illustration of this. Okay, which brand of shampoo do you use? What do you guys think about this question? Which brand of shampoo do you use? Anything wrong with this question? Shamika?
No, sir. No, nothing wrong with the question.
Nothing wrong with this question. Yes, Yessi?
It's not specific. So.
I don't think I'm able to hear you, Yessi.
Hello.
Yeah. Anything wrong with this question? Which brand of shampoo do you use?
It's not specific.
It's not specific. Okay. I have an input from Yessi. She says, okay, how would you make it more specific?
Just give it the brand name.
Okay. She's saying give brand name. Okay. So that will make it more specific. Okay. Other inputs, Rahul?
Sir, I think it is proper question.
It is a proper question. Nirbhay? It's a proper question, Nirbhay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Prajwal?
I can't figure. Sir, I think so. Like maybe I can answer in one word, like one brand, but maybe, but someone can answer like more than one brand. I don't know. I can't figure out.
That's
It's
okay.
fine.
That's fine. Yeah. Yes, please. Who was responding? Ravish, is it? Yeah, that's a good Prajwal. I mean, I keep telling whatever comes to your mind, it could be the right answer. Actually, what you said is actually true. It need not be one brand; it could be multiple brands. I may be using multiple brands. Okay, that is one piece of the puzzle. I'll come to Ravish. Yes, Ravish.
Yes, sir. Sir, I also thought the same.
Huh.
To give them the list of all the brands so that they could take and
They
ask
could
this.
pick. Okay, great. Okay, that is a good solution you guys are giving. Antra.
Yes, sir. I also think that there should be choices when it comes to the name of brands.
Okay,
So
so now
that
basically you're saying instead of asking which brand of shampoo do you use, how will you reword it? Anybody? Yes, Yessi?
I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear you.
Okay, suppose you say this question is not okay. How will you reword this question? Which brand of shampoo do you use? If you guys think there is a problem with this question, are you going to ask which brand of shampoo do you use and then give 10 different options? Is that what you're suggesting?
Sir, if like a company is doing this survey, like suppose I think Dove, maybe then they can ask with their own brand name to know that do you use Dove shampoo? Maybe that would help. But if they want to know about competition, then they can say give options by do you use Lux, Dove, and stuff like.
Okay, I will sort of summarize all the things which you guys have said. One thing you said is use give multiple options so that it's easy for the respondent to answer. Okay, which is a great suggestion. You also said that I might have preference for more than one. Okay, which one do you use? So when you say which one do you use, what are you intending? So does it mean which shampoo did you use today morning? Or are you saying what shampoo did you use in the past week? Or are you referring to the shampoo you used in the past month, last 6 months, last year? Okay, so that there isn't specificity of when. So I did say four things are important: what, where, when, and who. Right. So first problem is which one do you use? So when you say which one do you use in what time period? So are you talking about what I used in the last 1 week, or are you talking about what I used in the last 1 month or last 6 months? That's first. Time is one issue, or what I used today morning. Right. Second issue is who. Okay, of course, it is saying which brand do you use. Fine, who is captured. Okay, and what brand of shampoo, right? That of course you're expecting a response from them. You can some of you have suggested you can give them a list of brands. And what was the next bit? Who, what, where. Yeah, where part is also important. Where part is important because, say for instance, you might be using a shampoo at home, right? Which is what you regularly use and for which you pay. But it's also possible that you might have visited your friend's home, and you've been interviewed when you were at your friend's home, and then you've spent 2 weeks there, and you use a shampoo there which is available there, but you've not paid for that shampoo, but you've used that shampoo in the last 2 weeks because for the last 2 weeks you were staying with your friend. So if you ask like what shampoo did you use this morning, so I'm not particularly interested in what your friend has bought. I'm interested in what your preferences are. Right. So therefore that where did you use it? It's quite possible you're on vacation and you are in Bombay and then you are approached by somebody, you are staying in a hotel in Bombay and then hotel fellow has put some Head and Shoulders shampoo there, but you normally use Dove. But you that morning you've used Head and Shoulders. So that, you know, the element of where is also important. So let's look at how this question can be reframed better. A better way of asking this question is, which brand or brands of shampoo have you personally used at home during the last month? So I'm interested in knowing what brand of shampoo or shampoos you've used in the last 1 month. In case of more than one brand, please list all the brands that apply. And you give your full list. Pantene, Head and Shoulders, Sunsilk, whatever, Garnier and all of that, right? So in doing so, you are specifically telling what have you used in the last 1 month, where have you used it at home, and which are the different options that you have, and who has used it. Is it you? It's quite possible you use a certain particular brand. Your mother or father may be using different. Your brother or your siblings may be using something else. So there may be 4 different shampoos in your home. Right. So is the question about you or is it about your household? The husband may be using one brand, the wife may be using something else. So if this question can also be answered, framed differently, which brand or brands of shampoos does your family normally use at home? So when you say, does your family use, so as the husband or as the wife, you may be using something and your husband may be using, or a wife maybe, or your partner or your sibling may be using something else. So that information also can also be captured. So remember, whenever you ask questions, who, what, when, and where, important. Okay. Can you see the screen? Does it make sense? No response.
Yes.
Is it because it's
Yes, sir.
2:15 now?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. You're getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Great. So choosing the question wording is important. Define the issue. The 4 W's. I said there were 6 W's, but the 4 of these are particularly important. Who, as in whether the question is about the respondent or whether about its spouse or about his family. So it's not whether. So from the first question, it's not very clear. If you simply ask a question like, which brand of shampoo do you use? It doesn't talk about whether it's the respondent they're talking about, his family or his other people in the family and all of that. Okay. So make sure that you ask very specific question. So it's not very clear the question relates to the individual respondent or to the respondent's total household. Now what? A brand of shampoo, it's unclear how the respondent is to answer this question if more than one brand is used. This is exactly what Prajwal was saying. So if you say what brand are you using, there are more than one brand. Suppose I change my shampoo every week or every fortnight. So I typically buy sachets, for instance, right? Not the big bottle. So one I might use Clinic Plus, and next I would have tried Pantene, then I would have gone with Sunsilk. Right. So every week I do something. I might try something new. Small sachets which I use. So therefore, if I have more than one option, so you should give that option, saying that pick all that apply. Okay. So which is why the question is reframed as, which brand or brands of shampoo have you personally used at home during the last month? In case of more than one brand, please list all the brands that apply. So put a tick against all of the brands. Now, when? Unclear, time frame is not specified. Was it about last week, this morning, last fortnight, 6 months ago, or during the last 6 months, or whatever? So respondent could interpret it as a shampoo used this morning, this week, or over the past year. So yeah, so therefore be specific in the last 1 month. Then where? Okay, the where part is, it's not specified where you used it, whether you used it at home, at gym, at your friend's place, at a hotel, wherever you stayed. So that is important. What do you use at home normally? I'm interested in that because that is what you are paying for, and my research is in knowing what are you likely to buy yourself, right? So I'm seeing tired faces again. I'm finding Rahul is sort of switched off. So is it getting lengthy? Should I cut here or should I go for another 10 minutes?
No,
Rahul,
sir, it's okay.
it's okay. Yeah, all of you okay? Okay, let me just quickly go finish off with this. Yeah. Now, again, choosing the question wording, use ordinary words. Now, anything wrong with this question? Do you think distribution of soft drinks is adequate? The question is this: do you think distribution of soft drinks is adequate? Anything wrong with this?
Sir,
Yes,
first of
Antra.
all,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Prajwal.
I'm not able to understand the question.
Okay. Look at this. Do you think the distribution
Distribution of soft drinks means is adequate means what does that?
Okay, how will you? Okay, if there is a problem, how will you reword it?
What actually they want to convey? Like is the sale enough or?
Okay, okay, I'll come back to you. Yeah, I'll get other responses. Yes, Antara.
Yes, sir. The question is very vague. One cannot figure out what is being conveyed through the question. So,
Rahul. Yes, Rahul. Anything wrong with the question? Do you think the distribution of soft drinks is adequate?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, fine. Yes, see.
Maybe the question is quite hard in the vocabulary, sir. Like
Question is
adequate.
very hard vocabulary. Okay. I'm actually quite amused at the responses. As in, I did not think of. Okay, yeah. Let me just. Yes, Nirbhay. Anything wrong with this question?
I don't understand.
You cannot understand. Yes, Shamika.
So maybe the question is framed for a particular sector. So maybe the shop owners or something that, do you have adequate amount of soft drinks that you can provide to the customers? So maybe for that sector, the question is framed properly, but to a customer, it's a very weird and a vague question because we don't know why they're asking this question, first of all. And adequate, the meaning of adequate is not uh, proper in the sentence, I guess.
Oh, well, actually, I'm so happy. I mean, all the responses have been very, very sort of insightful for me because, okay, I'm also conscious and aware of the fact that none of you have done a course in marketing earlier and none of you have done a course in statistics earlier. So, yeah. And therefore, this is exactly the problem with this. Let's say, for instance, if I were to ask my marketing students, typically I teach marketing and, let's say, marketing research in their second year of MBA, and by which time they would have done a course in marketing and in let's say statistics. So now that problem with the question is actually getting reflected from your responses because you're not even familiar with the word distribution, right? Actually, yes, what you're saying, it's a technical term, but none of my marketing students have ever told me there's a problem with the word distribution. But this is exactly the problem with the question because you're going out and meeting the general public with your questionnaire and they wouldn't be familiar with the word distribution. Right. So the whole idea of distribution is how your product is distributed in the market. Right. It comes from the manufacturer, it gets stored somewhere, and it's made widely available to the public so that they can consume the product when they want to. So this process of distributing the product is called distribution. It's a common marketing term which is used and marketing students would understand. So clearly you guys have not taken any courses in that. So therefore you guys are not familiar with this question. Great. This is exactly the problem with it. That question is difficult and people wouldn't understand what it is, what you're referring to. Maybe a marketing student would understand it better. And towards the end, Shamika also said something like something about the frequency. Okay, let us see how you can actually rephrase this question. So actually, you've given me an insight which I didn't have earlier, right? Because typically a marketing student wouldn't ask what is distribution, but all you guys asked me what distribution is, and all of you showed me you don't understand the question. So which is great. So I'm quite happy, and it's actually for me a real good exposure to what actually a problem is with this question. So the word distribution is not commonly understood. That is absolutely right, bang on. And therefore a better word to frame this is, do you think soft drinks are readily available when you want to buy them? Right. So instead of asking, do you think distribution of soft drinks is adequate, which is marketing lingo, instead of asking that, ask the person whether soft drinks are available when they want to buy them, whether it's available in the neighborhood or wherever you buy it. Okay. So yeah, so I'm quite happy that you guys honestly said you don't understand the word distribution. So I'm quite happy about it. All right, great. Let's move forward. Okay. Now, coming to in a typical month, how often do you shop in the departments? Actually, I'm taking time out for this because I know that you are required to make a questionnaire. So have all these things in your mind when you prepare a question. Okay, that is the reason I'm going slow. And you guys did tell me that I was going a little fast earlier. Perhaps that was also true. So now going a little slow to make sure that you guys take this inputs when you keep this in mind when you design your questionnaire. Right now, next question. Anything wrong with this question? In a typical month, how often do you shop in a department store? In a typical month, how often do you shop in a department store? And options are never, occasionally, sometimes, often, regularly. Anything wrong with this question?
They're often and regularly are the same, and never, occasionally and sometimes is also, I think so. The meaning is same.
Okay, that is what Prajwal is saying. Yes, other inputs? Antra?
Sir, I cannot figure it out.
Okay, Nirbhay? You seem you think it's okay. The question is okay, right? Nirbhay, Antra?
Yeah, sir, it seems so.
It seems okay. Fine. Yeah, Nirbhay?
Yes, sir.
Question is okay. In a typical month, how often do you shop in a department store? Or how often do you shop at department stores? So options given are never, occasionally, sometimes, often, regularly. Is it okay? Does it sound all right to you? Question seems to be okay for you?
Yes, sir, I think.
Rahul?
No, sir. Means occasionally and sometimes have same meaning. So I don't think so. Keep.
Okay. And Shamika?
So it sounds okay to me.
Ravish?
Yes, sir. It seems correct.
Seems to be okay. Yes, see?
The multiple choice is quite similar, like Prajwal said.
Like Prajwal said, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, yeah, I think Prajwal and who else disagreed? Prajwal and one other person said it was okay for Antara, it was okay for Ravish, it was not okay for Rahul. Yeah. So yeah, their concerns are actually legitimate, right? So what happens is, what do you mean when you say at a typical in a department stores? How often do you shop in a department stores? Somebody says occasionally, and somebody says sometimes. Yeah, how do you interpret that? When you say occasionally, how frequent is okay? How frequent is occasional? Right. So my occasional maybe once a fortnight. Your occasional maybe once in 3 months. My frequent may be once every second day. Your frequent maybe
Sir,
once a week. Yes, please. Yes, Nirbhay.
I have another class.
Oh, you have another class. Yeah, yeah. Please carry on. Okay, I'm anyway recording this, so I can share the recording with you so that even if you miss part of it, you can come back and take a look at it later. Yeah. Okay. Carry on, Nirbhay. Yeah. Do you guys get it? Right. Your occasional maybe once a month. My occasional maybe once in 3 months. My frequent maybe once every 2 days. Your frequent maybe once a week. It is not well defined. Frequently, occasionally, often, these are relative terms. These are not well defined. Getting it? So shopping, how frequently do you shop? So or no, how often do you go out for shopping? Then you say occasionally, frequently, rarely, and all. So what is rarely? For me, rarely maybe once a year. For you, rarely maybe once in 2 months. Right. So the problem with this is it's not well defined, and therefore it has to be put it in a way so that people sort of all of us are on the same page. When you say occasionally, what is occasionally? What infrequently? What is infrequently? It has to be properly defined. Okay. So let's see how this guy.
Numbers like 1 to 3 times a week or.
Yes, absolutely. Something like that. Precisely. Yes. So you need to be more specific so that there isn't your frequently and my often, they don't become sort of same or, so everybody, all the respondents should be on the same page when it comes to responses. Okay. So the right way of putting it is, in a typical month, how often do you shop in the department store? Give options like less than once, 1 or 2 times, 3 or 4 times, more than 4 times. Or 4 to 6 times, more than 6 times. So in a typical month, less than once or twice, 3 or 4 times, more than 4 times. More than 4 times would mean at least once a week. Right. So all of us are on the same page on this. So occasionally, rarely, sometimes, never, So that is like, relative terms, and not, you don't know how to interpret what each one is saying. So be specific about frequency and with respect to times, like what Prajwal was mentioning. Yeah. Okay. Now avoid leading questions. Again, when you set a questionnaire, avoid leading questions. What are leading questions? So leading questions are that which gives you some inkling about what your intentions are. So don't ask question in a way which will prompt a response in a certain way. So don't ask question, okay, like something like, let's say for instance, a leading question is one that clues the respondent to what the answer should be, as in the following. So if you ask a question, do you think that patriotic Americans should buy imported automobiles, when that would put American labor out of work? So you're basically asking, do you want Americans to import? And if you import, it will put Americans out of work. So should you be buying Chinese product? Why? Because if you buy Chinese product, Americans who are manufacturing will go out of business, or they will have to deal with unemployment or whatever. So if you ask a question like that, then immediately the answer should be, do you want to import? Then you'll say no. Because then as a patriotic American, as a patriot Indian, if you ask a question, as a patriotic Indian, do you think it's a good idea to import Chinese phones? Then you immediately say, no, there is a problem with the Chinese people at the border. So let's not import from China. Right. So do not ask leading questions. So it's actually not a double barrel question, but you are somehow cluing, or you are giving hint about what your expected response is. So take away the Chinese aggression and the border problem and all that, and ask, deprive it all of that, and remove all of that, and then ask simple questions. So don't ask leading questions. So leading question is this: do you think patriotic Americans should buy imported automobiles? So then moment, like, okay, I'm a patriotic American, therefore I should not allow Americans to import cars from Japan or Germany or whatever. So therefore remove that and ask, do you think that Americans should buy imported automobiles? That would be the right way of asking it. Okay. Okay. Now, statements should be, when you have, let's say, for instance, when you're trying to capture values, attitude, and lifestyles and all that, you would actually ask some. You might actually put some sentences, statements out there. Say, for instance, I'd love to travel. Okay, I like adventure. I like vacations. Right. So if you put everything as I like, people will, what is your level of agreement with this sentence? So you might ask something like, what is your level of agreement with this sentence on a scale of 1 to 5? Strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. Okay, on this 5-point scale, then you ask a set of questions. So questions could be something like, I love adventure sports. Then you are asked to respond to it. So you would say agree. I love outdoor activities. Then you again say agree. I love working out. There also you agree. So typically people have a habit of agreeing with whatever the question is. For that reason, you should actually put some negative questions. So you should say, I hate working out. Right. And then see what the response is. Then the person should say disagree. So if for everything he agrees, so then, it will actually sort of, therefore that is also one way of making sure that respondent is actually read through your question. Right. So somewhere you say, I love adventure sports. And then elsewhere you write, I hate going out on vacation, or I don't like to go on holidays. So put a negative sentence also elsewhere. See whether the person is again writing agree everywhere or not. Right. So make sure that some questions are worded negatively also. Making sense? Okay. I know I'm extending the class by a little bit, but yeah. And I'm also recording it so that other people can benefit. I'll upload it in some time so that you guys can benefit from it. Okay. Moving on, determining the order of questions. The question should be interesting, simple, and non-threatening. Okay, again, point which I think Prajwal had made. So make sure that it's interesting, it captures the imagination interest of the respondent. As a guideline, basic information should be obtained first, followed by classification, and finally identification information. So basic information, which is seen as friendly and which doesn't really cause any sort of irritation or annoyance. By then classification and then identification. Identification information is what basically describes, capture more information about where are you from, what age bracket, what income level are you, your gender, and all of that. So there are 2 points of view in this. Sometimes I've seen, this is not a hard and fast rule. There are questionnaires designed wherein this information is captured right at the beginning. Respondent's age, that profile, gender, income, education bracket, you give multiple choices up to 10th, up to 12th, graduation and above, postgraduate and above, professional, whatever that particular grouping is asked right in the beginning. Get a sense of the age and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, now it can either go at the very end or it can be at the beginning. So I've seen several instances where this information is captured right at the beginning. Okay, difficult questions invariably has to be towards the end, only after building a rapport with the respondent. So difficult questions are questions which are sensitive, embarrassing, complex, or dull should be placed late in the sequence. Okay, those should be asked much later. So I think I will. I've got a few more things to discuss. I think I will take it forward next class because I've got another class coming up again in the 20 minutes or so. Okay. Any questions? Right. I know I went a little fast, but was it okay, guys? Was it too fast? Did you guys miss out anything?
No, sir.
Okay, Antra.
No, sir.
Did I go really fast in the beginning? Because yeah, I thought it was repetition of what I taught in the last class.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Shamika.
No, sir.
Yeah. Rahul had an issue. Yes, Rahul, you're comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Yasi.
No, sir, I'm okay.
You're okay. All right, great. Okay, so let's resume tomorrow. It's already 2:30 here. I've got another session coming at 2:45. Okay, so let's resume tomorrow. And yeah, so use these inputs, design a questionnaire, let it be up by Friday so that you can do your data collection over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and just get going with that. And then yeah, all right. See you tomorrow then. Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.